I'm just sitting here, I got time. It's clear to see from up here, the world seems small. We can sit together, it's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
Greetings, Glitter Gang. Happy Thursday. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have lots of exciting stuff planned for the weekend. How are all of you doing? How's it going? Everything going well? Today we're going to be working on the Catch a Tag Remastered album, the landscape version. And we are going to be working on the inserts for folder number 2. So that's where we're going to start. So I have just a couple announcements before we get going. The first one is that the book for the July book club has been chosen, and you voted, and you voted for Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, which was a big hit last year, which makes sense because it came out last summer. It was a big deal last summer. And this book I consider to be sort of a mystery thriller, would be where I put the genre. There is on the front cover a comparison to Rosemary's Baby. I just wanted to address that in case that was really concerning. If you are worried about there being like a lot of violence on the page, particularly like horror violence on the page, or more violence than would be typical in a mystery. I don't think that's the case with this book. I think that the comparisons to Rosemary's Baby are way overblown. That's a marketing thing, you know. I mean, I can't tell you how many Game of Thrones books there are where it's like, this is the new X Game of Thrones, you know. And it's like, so people just pick something that's popular, that's kind of like when they're doing marketing, they just pick something that's popular that's kind of like the thing, and then they compare it to that thing. So this Rosemary's Baby comparison is that it's just overblown puffery, and it's just not, it's barely relevant. The only things that the books have in common is they're set in very exclusive apartment buildings. So Rosemary's Baby is set in a very exclusive apartment building. Lock Every Door is set in a very exclusive apartment building. That is where they part ways. So don't think you're getting into Rosemary's Baby territory. Don't think you're getting into Exorcist territory. Don't think that this is a horror novel, particularly a graphic horror novel. It is not. Lock Every Door is definitely in the mystery thriller genre, not in the horror genre. There is violence. Horrible things do happen, but they don't happen on the page explicitly. So, like, we just read that cozy mystery where lots of horrible things happened, but they didn't happen on the page. You didn't have to read like the blow by blow account of the murders. That is very much how Lock Every Door is as well, in my opinion. I've already read it. Okay, so now if you're on the fence and you're worried, you don't have to read it. But what I'm saying is, if the thing that was deterring you from reading it, like if you're okay with murder mysteries, you're okay with some thrillers, but the Rosemary's Baby comment was the comment that was like making you go, ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to read something like Rosemary's Baby. It is not like Rosemary's Baby. Okay, I promise you, it's not. All right. So I would like the only thing Rosemary's Baby and Lock Every Door have in common is they're both set in very exclusive apartment buildings. That's in New York. That's it. That's it. So don't be concerned that it's a horror film or a horror book on the level of Rosemary's Baby or like The Exorcist or something like that. It's just not in that area at all. Okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to address. Of course, if you're like unconvinced, then don't read it. You know, take care of yourself. Don't worry about it. Did I like Lock Every Door? I'll tell you what I rated Lock Every Door 3 stars. So it definitely came out ahead of Footprints in the Sand, which we just read, in that whereas I thought Footprints in the Sand was a bad example of its genre, I thought Lock Every Door was a fine example of its genre. And so something that I think is a fine example of its genre, I will give 3 stars. Lock Every Door could have been 4 stars, but it really oh, it just missed the mark in a really huge way on where it could have started a really interesting conversation about wealth inequality and the way that people with a lot of wealth treat people without a lot of wealth, um, historically and currently. And it does like have that conversation in the sense that like some characters like spout like talking points at each other, but the writing failed to make the point in a show way. So you know how in writing there's the saying, please, so that you need to show and not tell. And this book, its big message is told to you at the end. That I think she does a pretty poor job of showing it, and I will to talk about why I think it failed and what I think needed to happen in order for it to succeed better, would have to give spoilers. So I'm not going to do that. I will on the show when we talk about it at the end of the month. But I think of Lock Every Door as a missed opportunity to have been bigger than itself. To have been bigger than genre fiction. And so had it transcended genre fiction, I would have rated it higher. So if I rate genre fiction 3 stars, that doesn't mean it's bad. That means it's perfectly fine. And if you enjoy that genre, you would probably enjoy that book. But a lot of people give Lock Every Door a lot of superlatives that I don't think it earns. And I think a lot of those superlatives come from this conversation about wealth and wealth inequality and class and classism that I think people think happens in the book more so than it actually happens in the book. Like I think people I think a story has grown up around the book in the way that reviewers talk about the book, that it's this big novel about class and classism. And I don't think it earns that. I think it comes close, and I think that it was possible for it to be there, but I don't think it actually has the conversation people think it's having. I think that people are extrapolating in their minds that conversation in more detail because the book is leading them to think about stuff more. I don't know how to describe it, because I don't want to say that, like I said, that the book doesn't do it at all. Like the book does raise these points, but the way it raises them, I think it raises them in a way that is a missed opportunity, and I'm going to discuss that more when we get to it. But that's not to say the book is bad. I don't think the book is bad at all. So, I gave it a 3, which is what I would give a book that's, I would say if you like this genre, you'll like this book. I have no qualms about you liking this book. I think if you like mysteries and you like thrillers, that you'll probably like Lock Every Door. The author has other books that I think are where I think they do a better job of exploring the themes they're trying to explore. So like there's a book, Final Girls, which by the way, that one does tread closer to horror, which is exploring this idea of the final girl, which is the person who survives the slasher. There's always one chick alive at the end of the slasher movie, and what it's like to be that person. Like what happens after the movie ends to that person. And that book is more interesting, I think. So, but that book wasn't in Book of the Month Club, and that's why we're not reading it. So, okay, so let's see. Francis, how many stars have you given out lately? Look, 4 stars have you given out lately? I don't give out a lot of 4 stars. I don't give out a lot of 5 stars. That is in general. Although I will say that lately I've given out a couple. Off the top of my head, I mean, the last book I read, I gave 2 stars. But but I have given out some higher ratings lately. Like I'd been on a good roll, I'd been on a good roll, and then let's see. Yeah, I gave 2 stars to The King of Crows, which is the last book in the Diviner series by Libba Bray. I do not recommend the Diviner series overall, although the series does average a 3 out of 5 stars for me. That is because one book is 3 stars, one book is 2 stars, and one book is 4 stars, and one book, I think they're rated 3, 2, 4, 3 is what I rated that, or no, I don't know, whatever. It gets a 3. It averaged out to be 3, but some of them have 2 and some of them have 4. The series is way up and down and inconsistent, and just in general I found it kind of tedious. But I did give a high rating to Panic by Lauren Oliver, which actually does have a conversation about class and wealth inequality and dying towns in the United States. And I gave a high rating to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, which surprised me intensely because I thought that would be just okay. And I thought he introduced a really interesting conversation about social media and how we talk to each other online, particularly in the realm of punditry and following pundits, and how much of our attention is given to people reacting to things. Rather than educating ourselves about things. And then Footprints in the Sand got 2 stars. So, but yeah, I mean, of the last 1, 2, 3, 4 books I've read, 2 of them got 2 stars and 2 of them got 5 stars. So what can you do? I mean, did I find a good 50-second book? What is a pundit? Pundits are the talking heads that on TV or on YouTube. So who's a pundit? Chris Cuomo is a pundit. Anderson Cooper. These people aren't journalists. Chris Cuomo isn't out on the street getting the facts about stuff. He's commenting on them. It's the people who comment on stuff. And you can have political ones, you can have cultural ones, but it's the people who do the commentary online. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of Rachel Maddow at MSNBC, Tucker Carlson at Fox News. Those are pundits. The people who talk about the news, who provide like commentary on the news or commentary on culture or whatever, but they're not like specifically necessarily what you would think of as a journalist, which is someone like maybe going out and getting the story, whatever. But there's all kinds of people providing commentary on all kinds of things. Like, you want to watch vocal coaches commenting on singers and what they're doing right or wrong. You can watch that. Like, there's a lot of commentary that happens in social media. A lot of social media is about talking about stuff that's happening and giving your reaction to or opinion on, and then fighting with other people about their opinions, right? So that's what the book is about. So essentially the book is about first contact with aliens. So then the book we're talking about is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Aliens come to planet Earth, and it's about how we react to that as a species, the human species, broadly, and then how certain individual countries react to it, particularly with a focus on the United States because the main character is from the United States. But other countries are mentioned. And so it's, but a lot of it is is a whole, cottage industry of commentary on aliens that grows up around the aliens arriving. And, whether or not that's a positive or negative thing for our first contact with aliens is what is explored in the book. Like, if aliens were to come to the Earth, would it be better for us to form a united front as the human species and deal with them that way as one human community, or would politics and how divisive politics are prevent us from doing that. That's what the book explores. So it's interesting. It did, I was thinking when I was reading it. So, all right. So that's books for now. And then the other thing is I'm going to go long today, this afternoon, and then I will not be back tonight. So, this afternoon we'll go over, and do an extra long show this afternoon. And then there will not be a night show. I will not do a night show. And the reason for that is that Mr. Lifeguard's 4th of July holiday is today because he works for a 24/7 shop, and so he doesn't get off either the 4th or the 3rd. So most people are having the 3rd off to observe the holiday, and he's not, so they gave him today off. Normally on Thursdays he works from like noon to midnight. So we are going to get some dinner and have a little mini celebration here. All right. So I won't be back this evening. So how are all of you doing? So hello to everyone. Hello to Joyce and Gretchen and Priya and Kathryn. Happy Glitter Day, everyone, says Candy. Yes, absolutely. Hi, Kimberly, Sandra, Judy, Carol Joan, hello. And Barbara Jean is here. Sally Ann Snickerbocker is here. Deb and Ella, Vicky. Let's see. Catherine got a printer. She also says she would not compare Lock Every Door to Rosemary's Baby. And also Sandra bought herself a printer. So congratulations to Catherine and Sandra for their new printers. I hope you have fun playing with them. Judy has to wait 3 weeks on Libby for Lock Every Door. If your library has Hoopla, my guess is that Hoopla probably has Lock Every Door, and then you wouldn't have to wait. Although you would have to read it on your phone or listen to the audiobook. But Hoopla is a little bit different from Libby in that it doesn't have individual licenses. So, like, if they have the book, they have the book. If they don't have the book, they don't have the book. There's never any waiting. So check and see if your library does Hoopla. I'm actually just checking now to see if it is there. Oh, I guess it's not. Well, forget I said anything. Forget I said anything about Hoopla. Just kidding. So let's see. Fran asked how many 4s I've given out lately. 2 is the answer. 2. Gretchen says, did you find a good book 52? I have kind of settled on Infinite Jest for book 52. However, depending on how long it takes to get the audiobook, I want to have the audiobook and the physical book. I already own, physical. I already own the Kindle version. So I have the Kindle version and have had it for years, since 2011, I would say. So we're getting to the point where it's like, I don't need to carry this book into the next decade. I need to make a concerted effort to read it and then just determine if maybe it's not for me and just never read it and move on. So that's what I'm going to do. But I want to have the audiobook and the physical book because I like to bounce back and forth between them, but also because Infinite Jest is so long. The audiobook is over 55 hours long. It's such a long book that I think I might need to mix it up sometimes. And then the other thing is that Infinite Jest is kind of infamous for having footnotes, lots of them, not just footnotes, but footnotes within footnotes. Like sometimes there'll be a footnote in the footnote. You got to go read that footnote, come back, finish reading the footnote, then go back to the text. And typically the way audiobooks handle footnotes is they just read them as they appear with the text. So, I think there's a possibility that it might be easier to understand if I'm having the audiobook going as I'm reading the book, possibly. Also, if I put an audiobook on 2 times speed, that's just a little bit slower than I would normally read. So it might, if I'm reading and listening at the same time, it might help slow me down. I'll take in the information better. Who knows? Have I surpassed my reading goal for the year? No, but I absolutely will, unless I don't read any more books for the rest of the year, which would be unlikely because we have a book club. So... All right, we've got people forgetting what day it is in the chat. I think it's partially retirement. It's partially not working outside the house right now for a lot of people too, I would guess. Barbara Jean says aliens, huh? So will locking the doors even help? Well, the aliens are in An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, and Lock Every Door by Riley Sager does not have aliens. Spoiler, there's no aliens in Lock Every Door. Fran says, I hope we can all come together as a human species when the aliens come. I mean, that would be ideal. That would be ideal, but who knows if that will happen. Let's see. Oh, Renee says hi. Melanie is here and it says hi. Mary is also here and says hi. And so does Donna. Renee. I think I already said Renee, but what can you do? I believe Mary says, how do they do Infinite Jest as an audiobook? And I believe what they do is whenever there's a footnote, the reader just reads it as if it's part of the text. So I think that's how they are handled. Is they just read it. You might not even necessarily know. In some audiobooks, you don't even know you're listening to a footnote. And some they'll point out that it's a footnote. With audiobooks, can you adjust the speed? Yes. In Libby, for example, you can. So, let me open an audiobook in Libby and I'll show you where you do it. Okay. So you see up here on Libby, you've got this thing that looks like a little clock, the moon, the bookmarks. Okay. So the thing that looks like a little clock is the reading speed. So you can see if you want to set a sleep timer, which is, say you're going to listen before you go to bed and you're afraid you might fall asleep. You can tell it to turn off at the end of this chapter, turn off after half an hour, whatever. And that way it won't like run all night and finish the book while you're sleeping. But then the other thing is, so that's the sleep timer and that's the little moon. Okay, you get that by pressing the little moon. So that can be useful. But by pressing the little clock, you get playback speed. You can see here I listen at 2 times speed, but that at increments of 0.25, I could listen. Anywhere from 1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75. And then over here where it says fine tune, you can actually go all the way up to 3 by fine tuning from 2. So you start at 2 and if you pull it all the way down, it'll take you to 3. This one requires, I think, some practice to get used to listening to it. So if you want them to read faster, what I suggest doing, if you've never listened to them read faster, like now I just started at 2 and I'm just used to that speed and I understand them perfectly. So if you have not listened to them fast yet, then what I would do is I would put it at 1.25 and listen until it doesn't sound weird, until you're not like trying to understand. Then bump it up to 1.5, listen to it until it doesn't sound weird, and continue on until you get all the way up to 2. But I don't think Infinite Jest will be my 50-second book because it's taking a while for the audiobook to come in. Excuse me. And because it is taking a while for my audiobook to come in, I am because it is, I'm sure you could get used to 3. I was watching a video on, um, it was sort of like a visually impaired person was talking about how she uses a phone, and I think she listens to her phone at something like 4 times speed. So I think it's just a matter of getting used to it. So I tried to listen to 3, like I bumped it up out of curiosity, and I was losing comprehension. So I don't think, I mean, my goal is not to read books as fast as possible. You know, I'm sure I could get used to it, but you know, I'm just not sure. You know, I just don't know that I care, right? It's not important. It's not on my list. We have 43 years to get it together as humans. Per Star Trek, First Contact Day is in 2063. Oh, well. Yeah, I mean, we can probably, um, yeah, I mean, I tend to be with Stephen Hawking on the First Contact with Aliens thing, where, you know, if you think about, at least on our planet, how it usually goes when a more advanced society meets a less advanced society, it's typically not good for the less advanced society. So if aliens find us before we find aliens, that would make us the less advanced society, and it might not be that great for us. We'd have to hope that they were super benevolent, nice aliens, and not aliens who were looking for resources because of scarcity on their planet or something like that. Like, the reason everything works out so great in Star Trek is because of the replicators, because that makes them post scarcity. But as long as there's competition for resources, you're going to have problems. I think regardless of how benevolent any of the species involved are, just look at human beings and how far we've come as a species and how we still have conflict over resources. So Ella says, I love Libby. Jill says we have 43 years left for till First Contact. Hope the next 42 aren't like this one. Yeah, I hope we don't have 42 repeats of 2020. Gretchen says, has anyone listened to Kathy King at 2 times speed? It's pretty funny. That's funny. There's some YouTubers that talk so fast already that I would not put them on 2 times speed. Like, there's a booktuber who talks so fast that if I'm listening to booktubers on 2 times speed, if one of her videos pops up, I have to take it back down to 1. Chandler Ainsley. So yeah. So, okay. Well, goodness, we have discussed now how First Contact with Aliens is going to go, where humanity is headed as a species, Rosemary's Baby, Infinite Jest, etc. We've covered a lot of ground. Okay. So, let's switch to crafting. And so last week we got to the point where we were working on the inserts for folder number 2, and I was like, let's just do really big envelopes and put some fun inserts into them. And then I got to thinking I could probably improve on this, and I had an idea to turn this into a folder where when you open the folder, then you would open envelopes, and that would be kind of fun. So we're just going to scrap this and start all over. I mean, I'm not going to throw it away because it's a nice envelope. We might use it later. But the idea, we're going to switch gears. So if you spent the weekend making envelopes for your book, sorry. I am sorry about that. Carol says there are times when I could use a speed control for my kids. I bet. All right. So the measurements aren't going to change that much because I don't Speed control and mute would be useful for my kids. Because I don't think we need to reinvent the I don't think we need to reinvent the envelope here. But what I want to do is we need to add a hinge that connects the two sides and a closure. So so the actual envelope, now I have to try and interpret these. Did I ever say what size the envelope is? Oh, 9.5 by 7.5. Well, I actually have the envelope. You know, I could just measure it. Wouldn't that be crazy? Okay, 9.5 by 7.5. Okay. All right, so if the envelope is this, let's think of it this way, 7.5 by 9.5. All right, so the envelope is 7.5 by 9.5. So what that means is that the connector piece is going to be 2 1/8, because it still has to go in a folder, so we don't want the connection to be that big. 2 1/8 by 9.5, because it needs to be the length. All right, so the envelope is here, so these are the pieces we're going to start cutting. All right, and then these are the rest of the pieces. So the only thing is an additional piece of 2 1/8 by 9.5. So I'm going to cut twice as many of these things as I need, so that I can make 2 of them. And then we'll go from there. So let's see. If I need 2 pieces that are 11.5 by 11, 2 pieces that are 9.5 by 5.5 can all come from the same sheet. And I can probably get these 2 1/8 by 9.5 from the scraps. So probably 3 pieces of cardstock needed to make 2 of them, which is not so bad. All right, so I'm going to just start cutting my pieces. All right, so I mentioned lock every door and whether or not you need to be concerned about violence and lock every door. And then I'll cut. I can only get one 2 1/8 by 9.5 inch piece. That's kind of annoying, but oh well. Let's see how we do with the other 2 pieces. If not, I have scraps, so it's, yeah, 11.5 by 11 I'm not going to be able to do either. So I'm just going to pull some scraps out of the recycling bin. Eleven and a half by 11. Oh, and we need a closure. Ah, son of a gun. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna let my mess up. I messed up this piece. I'm just gonna make a little note to myself that the side that's not straight, I'm gonna put an X on the side that's not straight, so I know which side to put in at the top of my scoreboard. And then for the closure, I mean, let's just do 5.5 by 6.5, and then we can close the whole thing with a photo. So 5.5 by 6.5. I'll do the 5x7 pinwheel. Except we're going to do a 5.5 by 6.5 pinwheel. So you can do a pinwheel of any two measurements as long as those two measurements don't add up to 12, more than 12. So 5.5 plus 6.5 is 12. So we'll put it at 5.5, and we're going to cut up to 5.5. Put it at 5.5 and cut up to 5.5. All right, put it at 5.5 and cut up to 5.5. All right, this one's, I didn't cut far enough up on one of them, so that's okay. All right. That's fine. Oh. So I just have to tidy them up. It's whatever. How would you do a 4x6 pinwheel? Well, you can't do a 4x6 pinwheel. You can do a 4x8 pinwheel, you know, and then cut them down. All right, so I'm going to cut, like, they have to add up to 12 or else they'll still be connected in the middle. So so let's say you wanted your pinwheel to be 4.25 by 6.25 because that's what a photo mat is, right? Let me get a white piece so I can actually use these as photo mats when I'm done. So you would put it at 4.25 and you would cut up to 4.25 just like you normally do with your 5x7 pinwheel. You're always going to put it at whatever your smaller number is and cut up to whatever your smaller number is. And so that's going to give you these pieces that are 4.25 by, you know, 7.75. And then you just cut them down to 4.25 by 6.25. So it doesn't actually, I mean, I guess it saves you some time over the 5x7 pinwheel in that you only have to cut them once. So then you would just cut them all at 6.25. And then there would be 4.25 by 6.25 mats. So you really only need to know your smaller number for your mats. Okay. All right, so let's start chopping pieces. And here's two 5.5 by 6.5. Okay. So we've got everybody chopped. And now we're going to go ahead and do our scoring. So with the 5.5 by 6.5 pieces, we're going to score them on the 5.5 inch side at 4.5. All right. Then with the big piece, which is 11.5 by 11, we're going to score along the 11.5 inch edge at 1 and at 10.5. And then we're going to score the 11-inch edge at 1 and at 8.5. And by making sure that my messed up piece is on the side and I'm lined up at the top, then that messed up piece is just going to be inside the envelope. It's not going to matter. I've turned it into my tab. So 11.5 or 1 and 10.5 on the 11.5-inch side. And then 1 and 8.5 on the 11-inch side. And then we've got the 2 and 1/8-inch pieces, which just get scored at 1 and 1/8. 1 and 1/8. Because we don't want the envelopes to be too far apart, because they still have to go in the folder. And then for the 9.5 by 5.5-inch pieces, these don't get scored. They're the ones that go just right here on the front of the envelope to finish everything off. So they're unscored. All right. We've got all our pieces. So let's fat slab. Let's do it. Time to fat slab. Now we have not seen Mittens in a while, so we've seen her a couple times, but she hasn't been harassing the cats. So I think Mittens is doing something else with her evenings. Okay. So, well, Joyce, I hope you like it. So the cats have been pretty chill. Yeah, so all right, here we go. So what are we going to do? Well, let's start with this big piece. We're going to get rid of this, and we're going to get rid of this. This one you can just ignore. Hold on, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, guess not. All right, so this one will cut off when we angle the corners, so you can just ignore it for now, but these two need to come out. So let's see. So yeah, I've read 50 books in 2020 so far. There was a minute where I was like, if I just read 2 real short books, I can be done with my challenge in the first half of the year. So I thought about doing that, but then finishing the Diviners was just so exhausting that I just didn't have it in me. I did not have it in me. So I just couldn't do it. All right. Time to do some punching. I'm going to use the 1/2 inch side of the hole punch. And then I'm going to fold this down and do these 2. All right. So that when these fold in, they're curved. And then, because I forgot last time, so I don't want to forget this time, I'm going to chomp the tops of these as well. All right, so Dee Dee asked, how do you know what corners to cut out when you want to change up an album? Do you mean, like, how do I know I needed to cut this corner out, Dee Dee? Or do you mean if I want to change an album, how do I decide, like, what pockets to leave out or something like that? Okay, so how you decide what corner to cut out is actually pretty simple. You need to cut out a corner if when you fold both sides in, if it would overlap, that's when you cut out the corner. So let me show you with these corners, all right? So you see with these corners, once I fold this down, it's still there. And then once I fold it over, it's now in between them. That's when you would cut it out. All right, because you don't need it. Because when I fold down, I don't need it, because if I cut it out, I could still attach this to this. So all this little piece here is doing is bulk. So if you're going to go like this and then like this, get rid of that. Get rid of that. All right, that's how you decide. Now in this one, I'm just going to cut across them because it's going to be hidden, so I don't have to remove it completely. But with here, I removed it completely because I want the flap to be free. When I don't want the flap to have like a piece connecting it to the side. See, when I fold it in, I don't want them connected. So that's how I decide. Yay! I'm glad you've got it. It's always good when explanations work. Okay. So let's start taping. So I'm going to take this piece where I know it's going to be, and I'm just going to mark with a pencil a little bit. This front piece is 9.5 by 5. I'm just going to mark where it is because I don't want to put tape higher. All right, so when I put my tape, I'm only going to go from the line down to the down. I'm not going to go above it because I don't want the tape to show. All right. And I want to make sure the tape's on the flaps because if I put the tape on this and I don't line it up perfectly, I could tape the envelope shut, or there could be some sticky tape on the inside. So I don't want to do that. All right. Okay, so I've got tape here, here, and here, and then we'll cut those corners at an angle. So let's do the same thing on this piece. Oh my gosh, I needed to cut 4 of this if I'm going to, whatever. Okay, I'll cut more of these later. Let me just finish making one. I was like, I'm going to be like on top of it, man. I'm going to be so on top of it. No, incorrect. Incorrect. Oh, I've decided what the August book club theme is already. So I'm all good. It was inspired by Mary Gilmartin. She's probably going to murder my face off one day, but it's all books that were inspired by classics. And I made sure to include a Moby Dick one in there for the Moby Dick fans. And I've got a Jane Eyre one in there. And I just have to decide if I want the third one to be the one inspired by Pride and Prejudice or the one inspired by Howard's End. And I'm kind of leaning towards Howard's End just because I feel like, one, there's a lot of Pride and Prejudice adaptations. And two, if Jane Eyre's in there, you know, I mean, I was going to say similar vibes. It's not really similar vibes. But I mean, they're really different books, actually. Like, very different in tone. But, anyway. So, yeah, we're going to have a Moby Dick one, a Jane Eyre one, and probably a Howard's End one. Am I kidding? No. I'm not kidding. We're going to have a book about that was inspired by Moby Dick. Retellings, modern retellings. So, we've got Moby Dick, Jane Eyre, and the Moby Dick one, I think, is about baseball. So the Jane Eyre one is much more similar to Jane Eyre. And then the Howard's End one, I think, is very similar to Howard's End with the added element of it's not just class, it's also class differences, it's also race differences. But so that's why I think I'm going to do that one over the Pride and Prejudice one. Again, because there's a lot of Pride and Prejudice retellings already. There's tons of them. So those are going to be the August books. But I have a feeling the Moby Dick baseball one is not going to win, but that was the one I was so intrigued by, how you would turn Moby Dick into a story about a baseball team. I know I didn't include an Old Man and the Sea retelling, but I put a Moby Dick in there as the consolation prize. So, all right. So this is the 2 inch by 1/8 inch piece that has the 1/8 inch gutter going down, and this is how they get attached. So they're going to go boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's how we do. And then, how about cat mysteries for September? Oh yeah, I was thinking about doing a book club month with cats on the cover, similar to how we did flip flops on the cover. So I was thinking about doing a cats on the cover one. Moby Dick and baseball is the art of fielding. Yes, 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 the art of fielding. Yep. Wow, you found it already. Well, there's probably not a lot of books about baseball that are inspired by Moby Dick, to be fair. So, or cooking ones. What if we do a cooking one in November and a cat one in October? We can do like Halloween cats on the covers or something. You bought that one for Dave, so you already have it. You're ready to go. So yeah, we're gonna. It probably won't win. My guess is that the winner will be either the Howard Zen one or the Jane Eyre one. But you may surprise me. You surprise me sometimes. I thought you were gonna go for things you save in a fire this month, and you went for Lock Every Door. So what do I know? Judy says the other two flip-flop books were pretty good. we just picked the wrong one. We picked the wrong one. All right. So here's where we've got tape. We've got tape on the underside so that when the flap is closed, you don't see it on the two 5.5 by 6.5 inch pieces. No tape on the well, if you knew we were going to go with the book with the least number of votes, you could game that. So I'd have to just spring it on you sometime, and then you would accuse me of not caring about democracy and the voice of the people, which, as you know, is a charge I take very seriously. No tape on the 9.5 by 5.5 inch pieces that form the front of the envelopes. Okay, so let's get ready to stick everything together. Okay, so we're going to cut straight through the intersection of these two lines. So the two lines form an X, and we just cut right through the middle of the X. Oh no, not tyranny in the book club. Book club can't become tyrannical. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to peel the tape just from the bottom. Maybe the aliens will be better at choosing books. Well, you mean when they come and take over the world and we just have to do what they tell us? Line the score lines up. So fold it so you can see the gutter and the flap and one of the flaps, and line the score line up. So, all right. Then go ahead and burnish it. Just like open it up, burnish. All right. The reason you want the tape on this flap and not on your 2 1/8 inch piece is because you don't want any tape to show here and here in the corner. All right, so now that you've done that on one side, you flip it around and do it on the other side. So fold this so that you can't see the gutter. Peel the tape off of this, and we're going to stick them score line to score line. I mean, whether or not a particular alien race or species scrapbooked would probably be dependent on what kind of family and social structures they had and how they recorded history. Like, for example, if it was like a really like, if they did oral history or oral storytelling, they probably wouldn't be inclined towards, but if they did written, it's possible that they would. Okay. So, look at what we've got. So, this is what we've got. We've got flap of an envelope, envelope back, flap of an envelope, envelope back. We've got this V poking up in the middle. So now what do we do? Okay, what is our next step? I will tell you. Fold in these two sides and press this down. Wait, let me think about this. Is that what I want? No, that's not what I want. Okay. What I want to do is I want to glue this piece now flat to the bottom of the envelope and run a line of tape over it so that it's not, you know, like sticking up everywhere. And also I'm checking to see if I fold it in, if it gets in the way of this flap, which it does. So I'm going to give it a little shave on the side here. This side, it does not. It folds flat. I'm going to shave it anyway. All right. Just shave a little bit off the two sides. Doesn't have to be anything dramatic. Okay, so flap back and then here. So we want when we fold it over, okay, we want when we fold it over for it to glue flat to the back of the envelope. So we're going to put the tape here. Then we're going to shave the sides. Then we're going to put tape on it. Okay, so I've got one whole envelope and one flap on the back. Then I've got flap, envelope, flap. Put the tape on the flap right here in this position, and then we're going to shave the sides. It doesn't have to be drastic, but if you want it to be drastic, you can just follow your original cut. Because you can see it, so you can just follow your original cut if you want to. All right? And then this piece, you're going to fold up. And then you're going to fold, fold. So, ooh, we want it taped on the back as well. So we want it taped on the front and the back of the flap. If you're all wondering why I decided to make this envelope so complicated, I don't know either, so don't worry. You're not the only ones. If you're like, well, it was kind of cute as an envelope. Why is she doing this to us? Is this revenge for something? Is this revenge for footprints in the sand, you may be asking yourselves? The answer is yes. Yes, exactly. All right, so first, now we're going to take the tape that's on the inside. All right. Wait. No. No, we don't want this tape. Lies. Just kidding. We don't want this inside tape. We don't. Just kidding. Get rid of it. Oh. We only want the outside tape. I almost sealed the bottom of the envelope shut. Abort! Abort! Am I saying don't pick the baseball book? I would never try to influence you. It never works out for me. I told you Lock Every Door had some problems, and that if you picked it, I would just be mad and do another rant. And guess what you picked? You picked Lock Every Door. So it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me to drop hints. So you should just vote for the books you want to read. When electronics start to swell, that is a serious problem. You've heard about exploding batteries. That's one of the things they do is swell before they explode. My dad's phone started to swell and he just like glued the pieces back into place, and when he traded it in at the store, they told him he was lucky it didn't blow up in his pocket. Well, of course, when you want the glue to come up, it's just like, no, I'm here. I'm here to stay. It's fine. We'll get it off. All right. So while I'm doing this, I'll tell you what I watched yesterday and stayed up like way too late watching, because I watched the whole thing all in one go, was Unorthodox on Netflix. That was really interesting. I even watched the making of featurette that came at the end. That's how interested I was. And Kitty was riveted too, because she sat on my lap the entire time and watched it with me. So she was also dying to see how it ended. Come on, tape. I watched the show Unorthodox on Netflix. Oh yeah, no, I liked it. That's why I stayed up like for 5 hours and watched all of it at once. I was just like, all right, everyone else was like, we're going to bed. And I was like, maybe I'll watch an episode of this and see what it's all about. And then 5 hours later, I was like, I should probably go to bed. What? This is like the most intense miracle tape of all time. It's just unbelievable. I've just never seen anything like it. But will it stick to this piece so I can pull it up? No. I don't find that I have great luck with undo when the tape's on the front. I do need a glue eraser. That's definitely true. We're almost done. We're almost done. Now that could just be my undo technique, but who knows. Then it would have taken time because we would have had to wait for this to dry. So, you know. Everything's got its own challenges. All right. I think we're good enough, but because it got a little sketchy here at the end, I'm going to put a piece of tape over it. And slice it off. All right. So, here's where we've got tape. Now, we have no tape on the inside, tape on the outside is what we want. All right, tape on the outside. So now when you fold these 3 sides in, it's basically a it's basically just a normal envelope now. All right. So now we'll pull the tape off the bottom. I'm going to fold everything in so we can get this piece lined up. But Unorthodox is about a young girl leaving an ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in New York. So that's what the gist of it is. All right. So now we've got the front flap on. All we have to do is fold this up. So we'll just peel the 2 side tapes and fold it up. And we'll be all good. Okay. All right, so envelope number 1. Here's the gutter. The joint is invisible. No flaps on the outside. Okay? That's what we're going for. So it all came together. All right, so now here's the first envelope. Here's the flap. So we're just going to put tape on the outside of the flap and stick it all together. Dun 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 dun. All right. Now, burnish and pull it up so you can trim. Oh, you could tape, yeah. So the question is, when you tape this piece down, should you open it and put tape here? That will make it more smooth. to get things in and out. So yes, that is a good idea. So after you've stuck the front on by attaching it to that bottom flap, you can flip it open and run a line of tape here. To tape down, not necessarily tape down that flap because it will stay down on its own, but to make it so that stuff will slide past it easily. And then you can just trim it on the sides. And that way it's easier to get stuff in and out of the pocket. Because you don't have to worry about the bottoms of tags or inserts or anything getting stuck on that ridge. All right, so now we just peel these side tapes. And fold it closed. Okay, so now you've got a folder, all right, that is made of envelopes with no visible attachments. Now we're going to ruin that by attaching a closure. Well, I mean, we don't have to. I have an idea. We will use these if we need to, but to keep this super clean look, let's see what we can do with pieces. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put metal, 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 metal. Okay. So get out my bag of homeless magnets and 4 metal discs. 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, these metal discs are back in the shop. Okay. So all right, so I've got those 2 metal pieces there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take magnets. Oh, and it's really important that your magnets all have the same polarity here. All right, so I'm going to do mine red line up. If your magnets aren't, marked like these, you can just check the polarity to see, make sure they're all attracting to each other and not pushing back on each other, okay? All right, so that's what we're going to do. So then I want you to put another magnet on top. So make a stack of 2 magnets, all right? Stack of 2 magnets. So put your glue dot. All right, now take this and close it so that the flaps line up, okay? So that the flaps line up. And then burnish over where your magnets are. All right, now. Wait, is it, let me think about this. Oh, nope. Yeah. I did this different. This is not what I meant to do. Okay, that's fine. Put them back. Don't close it. Close the flap. That's what I wanted. And then just put your metal discs here. You want the two sides to mirror each other. Okay. So I'm going to use stronger magnets here. Okay. Or not stronger magnets, stronger tapes. Okay. Close the flap. And then press it and then burnish. And then open the flap. All right. Take your homeless magnets and put them away so they stop sticking to stuff. My gosh, how long is it going to take for us to use up all the homeless magnets? Okay. Now, I'm just going to pull these two magnets off and put a line of tape over these two so that they'll be stuck to the page. Okay, and then put them back. And then put glue dots on top of them. And then now you close it flap to flap. Okay. So you want to line the flaps up. Wait. Now let me. Oh, no. How do I want to? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm making this. I'm trying to get my magnets in exactly the right place. So, because the magnets have to perfectly line up with each other, or else your whole thing will be messed up. And I'm trying to figure out how to get that to come about. And really what it is I'm going to visualize it for you. Try to visualize it for you as I think about it on my own. We need these magnets to be under this flap, facing the right direction, in exactly the same position. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, where I need to put these magnets to get that to happen. I almost think what I need to do is get them stuck. Yeah, okay. Get them stuck to the metal discs. Which I might have to temporarily glue them to the metal discs. Well, it would probably work better if I took the tape off. Let me see if I can get this right. Okay. And then, yep, that's right. That's what we need to do. Okay. So, do your first set. Get your first set done. Then, take your magnets and stick them to the backs of it. All right. And then glue them to your metal pieces. So now we just have to get them from the metal pieces to the flap here. Really? Glue dot? Do we have to be so dramatic right now? Okay, so the reason you want all the magnets lined up like this is because you don't want them to push past each other or anything like that. All right, so I'm just going to let the metal pieces come away with the magnets because it's more important that the magnets be in the exact right spot than the metal pieces because the metal pieces are so big. Then I can tape the magnets down and then everything will snap together just fine. And then I can tape these pieces down because they just need to be below the magnets. And all this is going to get covered with paper, so let me walk back through the magnet steps one more time. All right, so step number 1. Put down the metal pieces on one side of your envelope. Just, you know, 1/4 inch down from the score line. Then put a magnet piece on the back of each of them. Close it. Or put your magnet, put your glue dot on top of your magnet, then close it and burnish. The magnets will stick to this flap. Put tape over them so they don't move. All right. Then the next step is to put magnets here and here. Put a light bit of glue on them. No, that's not what I did. Then close that flap. Yes, here we go. Close that flap. Very lightly with like a removable adhesive or a little tiny piece of ATG, nothing big deal. Very lightly put metal here and put a magnet here and here on the back. Okay, so that the magnets will be stuck to the back. And then put adhesive, again, just like a small glue dot, nothing fancy. Put adhesive on the back of the magnets and then close it shut with the flap open. That will cause these magnets to stick to these metal pieces. Then put heavy duty adhesive on the back of the magnets, stick them to this flap and burnish. And then that will peel the magnet and the metal disc up and stick it to the flap. Pull off the metal discs, tape over the magnets, and then tape the metal discs back into place. There you go. There you go. That's how you do it. And then look, not only do the two sides magnetize to each other, but the flaps are magnetized in place. So nothing's going anywhere or getting out. And we still preserve that perfect no seams look. So no seams, no seams. There's no seams anywhere. So that's how we can keep it seamless. Oh my gosh. There you go. That's how you do it. My goodness. We got there. We got there. All right. Now, we just have to do it again. We just have to do it again. So let's make another one. Because we need two, because we need one for each side of the folder. All right. So we don't need these, but, you know, maybe we'll use them later in the book. Who knows? All right. So we're going to take this, and we already have the 2 1/8 inch piece. So we just need the 11.5 by 11 and the 9.5 by 5.5. Sandra says, my book likes it when you create perfection for it. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to know. Oh my goodness. We made it. We made it. Did I think we would make it? Not really. Not really. Ah. All right, so we got through it. It was pretty harrowing, but you know, we got through it. By the way, how's the audio today? Does it sound normal / the same, better, or worse? All right. So I'm going to get my scoreboard. So the 11.5 inch side gets scored at 1. And 10.5. The 11 inch side gets scored at 1 and 8.5. Do that again, because you need 2 of them for each of these inserts that you make. 11.5 inch side scored at 1 and 10.5. 11 inch side scored at 1 and 8.5. And then the 5.5 by 9.5 inch piece is not scored. 1 2 1/8 inch by 9.5 inch piece scored at 1 and 1/8. But we already did that. Talk about the ET 16,500. All right. The first thing you should do, if you have purchased an ET 1000 or an ET 16,500, can I come for a visit setting up my new printer and admire my book? The first thing to, well, we're, I think we're locked down again in Hillsborough, but My sister's been going to work the whole time, so I can't speak to our germs because she always we have the potential for her to be germing. So she's in contact with the public. How do you go about buying a refurbished printer? I bought my refurbished printer directly from Epson. So, because during a sale, they were having on refurbished machines. So that's why I got mine for the price that I got mine. But Amazon also sells, you would search if you want for the thing you want on Amazon, and then they'll put the word renewed after it. Or, you know, search for the thing you want on Google, Epson, whatever, refurbished, and then hit the shopping link. Is the 16,600 the new one? Because I think they discontinued the 16,500. Epson has the ET 16500 for $599 refurbished still. So there you go. Yeah. So they discontinued the ET 16500, which is my printer, my Epson printer. But they are still selling refurbished ones on their website, and they're selling them for $599, which is a discount of $300 or $400. I don't remember if it was $899 or $999. So originally, a discount of either $300 or $400, which puts it more in the realm of the price of a wide format printer. Like, wide format printers are very commonly $500 to $600. So that kind of makes it less like in the stratosphere. So if you buy it refurbished, you're getting it more for what a new wide format printer that isn't an eco tank and that doesn't have a wide format scanner, which is one of the reasons why the thing is so expensive, is because it has a 11x17 scanner on it. I think it has a huge scanner on it, and I think that's a large part of the expense of it. It also has a fax machine for those of you who need to fax things on the regular. So yeah. Okay, so now let's round some corners. So we're going to round the corners of the longer pieces. Going to round just one long edge, so just one of the long edges and leave the other one square. Then for this one, we're going to round these corners that we cut. Gretchen says, thank goodness I'm always looking to fax. I know. I mean, that's the thing. I'm always like, where is my fax machine? How am I going to fax? You know? So you're going to round here, 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 and here. On this one. Let's see if I can get the magnets right on the first try. Wouldn't that be amazing? Okay. All right. So these pieces do not get taped before they get stuck down. This piece does not get taped before it gets stuck down. So these three can get set aside for the moment. Hi, buddy. Hi. You want to say hi? Where are you? Are you hiding so you can leap out and scare him? Oh, hello. Hello. Pretty kitty. You want to come say hi? You want to come say hi to everybody? Here, I'll make you a space. All right, now you can walk across. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Come on. You can do it. There you go. Almost here. There you go. You did it. You did it. Oh, Hello. Hi. How you doing? So you do occasionally still have to fax things. Sandra's saying when she applied for her Social Security insurance, they wanted to fax papers to them, and an attorney wanted papers faxed to them. That is because, Kitty, you are very naughty sometimes. um, let's take a picture of you with your handiwork. Kitty, you just gonna lick your face and pretend this didn't happen? Is that what's going down? She decided to see if that basket that holds my most used dyes was good for sharpening claws, and she got too into it and pulled it on out of the shelf and emptied it on the ground. Now she's just like casually licking her paw, like as if she had nothing to do with it. Kitty. So, my understanding is that faxes are still like, because they go through the phone lines, there's a legality to them that there isn't to email. Like in court, they're better than email. So that's why for like legal stuff or stuff that has to do with the government or whatever, they still want faxes. All right, Kitty's like full on exploring this whole cubby that she's revealed. Okay. Fran says, I don't know why Kathryn is spreading lies about you, Kitty. Oh, yeah, that's it. Kitty's just the innocent victim here. All right, so once we've gotten it to this point, we're going to fold in the sides and make the mark where we're going to put the tape. It's possible it's partially because of hacking, but I think it's also that it's just the internet is not regulated as much as the phone lines are, and which faxes go over the phone lines, not the internet. And then the other thing is that the law is just slow to change, just in general. You know, you have to have a judge that's willing to rule on the admissibility of email, and then that sets a precedent, and then other judges have to use that precedent, you know, and then eventually it becomes a norm, whatever. Like the law just changes slowly, which it probably should. I think we want the law changing every 5 minutes necessarily. All right. Kitty's come in, destroyed my room. So the Epson will print. I don't know if the Epson will print 12 by 12. I mean, like if you put a 12 by 12 piece of paper in it, I'm sure it probably would. And we can certainly explore that if I ever finish making both these folders. But Kitty has taken my 2 8-inch strip and hidden it behind something, so I have to go crawl and get it now. Very dramatic. Very dramatic. All right. So now that we've marked those pencil lines so I know how far to put my tape and no farther, we'll keep going. see if we can make an envelope. So the question is, I use 13 by 19 and then I use software to fill the 13 by 19, and that's how I print. I find you get a wider variety of paper options with 13 by 19 than you do with 12 by 12. And then also you get it's cheaper usually. All right, so after you've done the two sides, then fold up the bottom and do the bottom just from score line to score line. Kitty's exhausted from last night's binge watch. She is. She had to think a lot of deep thoughts as she was watching the show too, you know, about how, like, we can use costume to isolate ourselves, or a community could use costume. By costume, I mean like a specific dress specific to that community to isolate themselves and to set themselves apart. You know, language, how you can do the same with language. What's Tiny up to? She's probably lounging by the pool. You know, the cats have a very hard life. They have a very hard life. Lots of lounging by the pool with breaks for pets and to eat crunchies. All right. So we've got all our pieces. So we've got our envelope pieces. We're going to have to cut through the intersection of these two lines. And then after you have, fold them over and make sure they don't overlap each other. It's a tough life. Being cute is not easy. It's true. Being cute is not easy. Although Tiny Cat's been spending so much time in the sun, she's changing colors. So that's been kind of interesting. She's turning red. Some parts of her fur are not as black as other parts, and they have like a reddish tinge to them instead. So I'm wondering if she was a combination of like black and dark brown, and it's the dark brown areas that are lightening and turning red. All right. So, step 1. You're going to fold your 2 1/8 inch piece so that you have just the flap on one side, and then you have the gutter and a flap on the other side. You're going to peel this tape here, and you're going to take the side that's flap only and stick it down to this flap, score line to score line. Then fold it open, burnish it, and then cut. See here where you can still see the line from where we cut the flap? Cut along that edge to taper it so we don't have to worry about it bumping into the corners. All right. Now we're going to take tape and put it on the angled flap. So we're going to put tape on this sides so that when all the sides are folded in, there's tape on all of them. But yeah, Tiny's really been enjoying being outside. A lot this summer. The internet says the sun can bleach and change cat fur color. Wow. So Tiny is turning red. All right, so I'm going to burnish that tape and then I'm going to trim it with my craft knife. But yeah, Tiny's been fairly antisocial lately. All right, so now I'm going to fold it like so. I'm going to peel the tape and I'm going to line up the unscored piece. All right, so I'm going to line the unscored piece up with the score line at the bottom and tape it down, or burnish it, and then we can flip it open and run tape along this edge if we want to. All right. And then trim the tape from the sides. All right. All right, so now we've got the other half of the flap at the bottom. We've got the flap taped to the back of this. So now all we have to do is fold the sides in, erase the pencil lines. All right, so erase the pencil line, then peel the tape. And then I'm going to kind of fold those in and then fold this up. And I like to start in the middle and go out to the side. All right. And now we have one of the envelopes on there. All right, so now envelope 1. All right, so now just do that again on the other side. Finished size of the envelope is 9.5 by 7.5. All right, so peel the tape. Line it up. So fold this so that all you see is the flap, and then line the score lines up. Line them up, score line to score line. And then flatten it and burnish it. And then cut along where you already cut. Just follow your original cut. All right. Then we're going to add tape to this flap. Then flip it over, trim it. And we're going to burnish. Okay. After it's been trimmed, go ahead and burnish. All right, now we're looking at it like this. Okay, so keep the two sides folded out. Remove the tape from the bottom. Take your unscored piece. Line it up with the score line at the bottom. Burnish. Flip it open. Put your tape if you want to. You don't have to. Then erase. Then peel. Then we're going to fold this up. I like to fold from the center, hold the center down, and then sweep my bone folder out to the sides. And then envelope 2 is done. So now all we have to do is not screw up the magnets. And we will have 2 of these envelope folders. So before I get started on that, I'm going to just go pick up the stuff that Kitty left on the floor so I don't, number 1, forget that it's there and break my ankles trying to walk on it. And number 2, I just want to clear my head for a second before the magnet. This isn't going to take very long to pick up her mess. All right, done. Okay, so now, time to magnet. Step 1, put your first 2 metal discs. All right. So, total of 4 metal discs. On envelope 1, put down your metal discs. Go ahead and burnish from the back. Then stick down 2 magnets. 1, 2, right in the center. Add glue dots. And then close the flap. Press in place and then burnish. Then open the flap and add tape to the magnets. So far, so normal. Okay, now close your flap, add 2 more magnets. To these, and then over here add 2 more metal pieces, just very lightly stuck down with small amounts of adhesive. Okay, so just put a little dab of ATG and call it a day. And then close. And then when you open, yeah, that's right. I want to put a little dab of adhesive on these 2 pieces and glue them to the metal so that they're temporarily glued to the metal. So just close it like that and then burnish. And they should stick to the metal, which they did. All right, perfect. Okay, now we're going to add heavier duty tape to the backs of these. So I'm going to use craft glue dots, which are just sort of more powerful. Going to burnish those craft glue dots. Okay. Then I'm going to close this flap and burnish. And what should happen is I can peel both the metal and the glue dot up together. Then I'm going to just pull the metal off the glue dot, stick it back into place, and then cover adhesive these down and adhesive these down. And put these down and these down, and then flip it closed, flip it closed. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it worked on the first try. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. Ta-da! Look how simple and easy it is to do the envelope folder, the seamless envelope folder. No seams, just beautiful envelopes that stick together. Yeah. 2 of them. 2 of them. What an accomplishment. What an accomplishment. So, this is what happens when I'm allowed to meditate on projects for a week. You know, I just make them worse. I just make them, well, no, I make them better, you know, because this is what we started with. I mean, this is an envelope. Anyone can make an envelope. But you are going to make double envelope seamless folders. That's what you're all going to make. Not just plain old envelopes. Okay, so let me catch up on the chat because I was trying to really like get the envelope done, you know, perfectly. So what's the size of the finished envelope? These are 7.5 by 9.5. Kathryn, there is no class next Thursday. Correct. Correct. There is no class next Thursday. There are no classes next Thursday. So we're having an extra long class today. And then no classes at all next Thursday and no class tonight. So, all right. Melanie says 2 weeks from today she has cataract surgery on her left eye and 2 weeks after that on her right eye. Good luck. My mom had both of hers done on the same day, like Donna's dad. And she did well. Okay, so she has mixed vision, so she has, she has trouble with seeing far, seeing medium, and seeing up close. And when they do your cataract surgery, they can correct your vision, but they can only do one per eye. So she chose to have one eye corrected for far and one eye corrected for medium. And the hope was that her brain would like mesh those two together and she would see clearly far and see clearly medium and then just use reading glasses. But her brain never did. Like, you know, so what she ended up doing is she has glasses where one eye is now far and up close and the other eye is medium and up close. So that she still has to wear glasses, but it's not nearly as like much correction as it was before. So, and she can still see pretty well without her glasses on. Like she can close one eye. That was my mom. My mom who had that done. So yeah, apparently when they replace the lens, they can replace it with a corrective lens. And then a friend of mine who doesn't have cataracts, she just had corrective lenses put in anyway, like just as a elective surgery. But I'm afraid to do that. And I'm not a good candidate for the laser, and I'm kind of afraid of the laser anyway. So I'll just wear glasses. It's okay. I think I'm going to get new. Yeah, I have mega astigmatism too, Joyce. My last optometrist said that I had a really, he used to say you have really uncommon power. Uncommon power was what he was always saying about my astigmatism. Apparently I have an uncommon power, everyone. Too bad it's a completely useless and lame uncommon power. So could it have been a good power to have, like laser eyes or, you know, flying? Sure. No, it's just really bad astigmatism. Cool. Okay. All right. So we did this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a recording break, and we're also going to do a break. So what I'm going to do is, I will be back. What time is this? 4:10. I'm not going to do a super long break. Let's do 10 minutes. Okay. So, I'm going to leave the stream going. So I'm not going to go anywhere. Here, I'll just leave a note that says back at 4:20 Eastern is what it will say. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'll be back at 4:20. I'm going to leave the broadcast going because I don't want to stop it and then start it and then have like 2 chats or whatever. So, take this moment to stretch your legs, walk around, get hydrated, If you've already been hydrated, deal with your hydration, whatever, and I shall return. Hello. Greetings. Good afternoon. Welcome back. I am recording again, and this is going to be the third part of our show this afternoon. It's 4:25, and what we're trying to accomplish today is to finish the construction at least of these inserts and for folder number 2, which are they started out as envelopes and now they are seamless envelope folders. Ta-da! They hold themselves closed. There's no seams, flaps anywhere showing. So we have finished the construction of them. We need to do the construction of the inserts. So we need to figure out what we're going to do as far as inserts go. And what I'm thinking is that it's possible that we're going to get lucky and the inserts that we already created to go in the large pockets will fit. That's these will fit. Aha. So thank goodness my poor little brain will be okay. All right, so we'll just make 2 of these. All right, that way when you go to do yours, you can mass produce these. You can make a bunch of these little guys. So okay, so let me just remind myself of the pieces that are in this. I know that this back piece is 6.5 by 8.5. I know that this piece is 7.5 by 4.5. 4.5 by 4.5, and I think this one is like what's left over from one of these other ones being cut, and its size will come to me. We need 4 of these, and we can get them all out of one sheet. I think that's the beauty of them, if I recall correctly, which is not guaranteed. Okay. All right, so we're doing an extra long show this afternoon so that, because tonight I am not going to be back. So just as a reminder, there will be no show tonight because it is Mr. Lifeguard's 4th of July. Today is the day he has off for that. So we are going to throw ourselves a little mini party. Yeah, that last piece is 3.5 by 6.5. 3.5 by 6.5. Or no, it's 3 by 6.5. 3 by 6.5. All right, so 3 by 6.5. 6.5 by 8 7/8. And again, you need 4 of each one of these pieces. 4 of each one of these pieces. So, because we're doing a long show, we had an intermission that we had a break. And I put a piece of music, a link to a video in the chat. For people to watch while they were waiting. And I will tell you, for those of you who are watching on the recording, if you're interested, if we discuss it, that what you are looking for, if you want to go on YouTube and Google, and you're going to be looking for Opera 2, sung by Dimash Kudai-Bergenov. But just Dimash, D-I-M-A-S-H. If you search for that, he's very searchable based on just his first name. You don't need to be able to spell his last name. I do not remember what size I was making the lunch pail insert. It just needs to be able to fit in the folder, Barbara Jean. So it could be any size, just as long as it fits in the folder. Okay. All right, so we have 4 of the 3 by 6.5 inch piece, 4 of the 6.5 by 8 and 7/8 inch piece, and these come from one strip. So if you take your 12 by 12 and you cut it at 6.5, you can get this one and this one off that 6.5 inch strip. That leaves you with this 5.5 inch strip, and I believe you can get the remaining 2 from this 5.5 inch strip. Yes, you can, absolutely. So take this 5.5 inch strip and cut it down to 4.5 inches. And then cut that piece at 7.5, and that will give you the 4.5 by 4.5 inch piece and the 7.5 by 7.5 inch piece. All right. And there's the other 2. Okay, so yeah, Opera 2, Dimash, spelled D as in Delta, I as in India, M as in Mike, A as in Alpha, S as in Sierra, H as in Hotel. And then last name is Kudai Berganov, I believe. But as you all know, I speak 0.5 languages, and the 0.5 language that I speak is not a Slavic one, so apologies for any pronunciation. Okay, all right. So now these pieces, some of them get scored, some of them don't. Most of them get scored. So the 4 6.5 inch by 8 and 7/8 inch pieces do not get scored. These are the bases. The 4 3 inch by 5.5 inch pieces all get scored on the 5.5 inch side at 4.5 inches. Wow, this is so many inserts. What was I thinking? Oh, well. All right, the 4.5 by 4.5 inch pieces get scored on one 4.5 inch side at 3.5 inches. All right. So that's 2 of the pieces. And then the last piece, which is a 7.5 inch by 4.5 inch piece, these all get scored on the 7.5 inch side at 6.5 inches. So basically they all get scored 1 inch in. So 1 inch in for all of them. I just prefer, rather than scoring 1 inch in, I always prefer to score at whatever I want left. So if something's 7.5, instead of scoring at 1, I like to score at 6.5, because if one of the pieces is not going to be quite the size that I need, I want it to be whatever's left over. So if you've ever wondered why I do that, when it would just be easier to say score them all 1 inch in from you know, the 4.5 inch edge, that is why. Because if it's something's going to be left, like if something's going to be 7/8 off by 1/8 of an inch or whatever, I want it to be the flap, not the actual piece that where the measurement matters. All right. Whew. I'm going to set these aside for a moment with the folders themselves. These folders are cute. We should try to remember how to do them. You know? All right, time to Fats Lab. Fold along all the score lines and burnish. There's a lot of them. All right. Now, all of them get tape on the flap so that when the flap is folded like this, you see the tape. So the tape goes here. I need to figure out a way to say that. You found a refurbished printer during the break? Congratulations. All right, let's see if I can. I'm going to tape bracelet these. Line up the score lines and you'll be fine. Yeah, maybe mountain or valley. Ooh, under 400 and local. Good score. All right. That's a new trick, the tape bracelet. Tape bracelet is so worth it. So worth it. For, because that second line of tape just goes right on. Saves a bunch of time. And you're not picking up and putting down the tape card after card after card because it's on your wrist. Fran says, please try to remember to hydrate and like this video. Curbside pickup. Oh my goodness. They're going to just put it right in your car, hopefully. All right, now, once you've got your tape on, burnish it, and then you just flip it over and run your craft knife in between your two pieces, and they just come right apart. the reason you want to burnish the tape is because the tape that I'm using, which is Miracle Tape, is what's known as a pressure sensitive tape. Other tapes that fall into this category are ATG, score tape, most double-sided tapes. And what that means is that the more pressure is put on them, the stronger they are. So if you burnish them, the tape will stick better to the cardstock, and that means it's easier to get the backing off, and that your book will be stronger as well. All right. Okay, so now we've got our stacks. So we've got our top piece, which is 5.5 by 3, scored at 4.5. We've got our 6.5 by 3, scored at 5.5. We've got 4.5 by 4.5, scored at 3.5. 7.5 by 4.5, scored at 6.5. 6.5 by 8 7/8, not scored. All right. So piece number 1 is this one. Now, you can measure to get it exactly center, or you can eyeball it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm going to eyeball it because it doesn't matter. Just tape this right on top of it. We're not going to hook it around. We're just going to tape it right on top. Then take your 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch piece, peel its tape, hook that piece over the one you just stuck down, and then press it into place. Last piece is this one. You're just going to center it on top of the first one you stuck down and stick it down. I'm not going to worry about magnets on these right now, because we'll do that when we are decorating, and I don't think we're going to get to decorating today. All right, so here is piece number 1. Goes like this. We'll put them. I'll do the magnets now. Goes like this. Goes like this. Okay. So, boom, boom, boom. Everything lays flat because we hooked them onto each other. All right. So nothing is like pulling or tugging or doing anything weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the metal piece here, and we're going to put the magnet here. So get out your 4 metal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And your magnets. And whatever accompanying garbage comes out of your drawer. Ooh, I hear really bad thunder. So much for our 4th of July party. We'll just have to watch a movie and let Mr. Lifeguard pick the movie. Burnish, peel, tape down the magnet and the metal piece so they don't go anywhere. And then one of them's already made. Excellent. Excellent. Let's just do it again. All right. We can start with the 6.5 inch by 8 7/8 inch piece that is not scored. Then eyeball it, get it stuck down. Doesn't have to be perfect. Burnish. Then take this one, peel the tape. This is the 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch one. Peel off its tape. Hook it on to the end. Can you hear the rain coming down? Press it down. Take the last piece, which is the 3-inch one. Peel the tape. And center it on this piece, on the 4.5 inch piece. Then take your metal, put some ATG on the back, put it in place. Take your magnet, put your magnet on your piece, put your glue dot on your magnet, close it up, give it a little burnish, peel it back, tape. My pool had hopefully better not flood, but it's not very full right now, so I mean, we took a lot out of it because I was like, I don't want to have to do this again. I mean, I guess I should stop whining about it because I guess I could live in an area where I'm constantly having to refill my pool because of evaporation. I'll probably just whine, though. I will probably continue to whine. Oh, it's coming down. I don't know if you can hear it. But it is coming down. All right, once that's centered, give it a burnish. Or you could not have a pool. Huh. I don't think so. Well, theoretically, the room shouldn't flood because supposedly they sealed the crack. So if the room does flood, I'll just have to call them back and say, hey, I don't think that you sealed the crack, though. Just FYI. Send the rain your way. I always wish I could send rain to people who need it more than me. I feel like I usually have plenty. All right. Doing really well. Doing really well. Maybe Tiny will be driven in by the rain. Although Kitty fell in the pool a couple days ago, but she tried to pretend like she didn't, which was kind of funny. Like, she just walked in from the porch totally soaking wet, as if that was normal, just like dripping all across the floor. And when we tried to dry her, she fought the towel to the death. She was like, no, I'm fine. Leave me alone. Yes, it was very human. Yeah, like today she was like today when she pretended she didn't know what happened to my dyes. Exactly. Exactly. She's like, look, I go in the pool all the time. You just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't see me. But I'm like swimming up a storm all the time. She's like, I love it. I love pools. Don't you know? I'm always in the pool. I'm like, just call me Kitty Phelps. Priya says she did not fall in. She was just rocking a wet hair look. Yeah, that's what happened. That's what it was. It was just a wet hair look. That would be my guess, Mary. Light refraction, a change in the light refraction. You the cats are the stars of the show. I don't know what's going to happen if they ever move out. It's going to be like, well, I'll probably have to get some new cats. Melanie says Kitty was just testing to see if it was warm enough for us pitiful humans. It was warm enough for her, but we will need it to be warmer. Look, we've got 4 of these now. Okay. So let's take stock of what we've got so far. So we've got, oh my gosh, we have done. Let's get the thing. So we've got our 4 inserts and our 2 seamless envelope folders. So these will go in like so and like so, like that. Yep. Like that and like that. And like that and like that. So that's a lot of decorating we've got to do. But because it is pouring down rain and because it is 5 o'clock, I think what we'll do is this will be it for today. And that way we have a clean start with decorating when we come back on the 15th, 16th, on the 16th. So I'm going on a little mini vacation for the 4th of July / my birthday, which is July 8th. So I'm on vacation now, and I will be back on the 16th of July, and we will decorate all of these wonderful creations that we've just made. I promise not to change them again. Just even if I have a really great idea, I will save it for folder number 3. So I swear, if you want to do homework, okay, it's safe to homework. It's safe to homework. So I'm going to have a great vacation, hopefully. I'm going to turn 40, so when I come back, I will be 40. Next time you see me, I will be 40. I've been 30 since 2010. So I will be 40 from till 2030. so so that's the change. That's the will you recognize? I mean, who knows? I'll be a whole different person. I'll be 10 years older cuz I'm 30 right now, but I'll be 40 next year or 40 next week. I age in decades. I age in decades. All right. So I will see you not next week, but the 16th. I will be back on Thursday, the 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern USA time. You all who are well, first of all, happy belated Canada Day to the Canadians. Happy pre-Independence Day to the Americans. Happy weekend to everyone else. And happy birthday to me. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in 2 weeks on July 16th. We will decorate all of these amazing creations. And I will see you next time. Bye now.